Hi, I'm Sam. I'm the co-founder of Kingdom Impact Lab, and in this video series I will be talking about the Sermon on the Mount. The Sermon on the Mount is Jesus' most condensed teachings in the Bible. It's in Matthew 5, I think, and after I've spent several months studying them, each individual one in detail, the Sermon on the Mount provides a framework to apply to build my business on biblical principles, and I want to share what I'm learning and how to apply it as I go along. So in these videos here, I will talk about each individual part of the Sermon on the Mount. This video here will talk about the Beatitude 2. Beatitude simply means blessings, and Beatitude 2 is blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. So, what does this actually mean? So, in this context here, mourning represents recognizing sin and loss and being honest about what's not right. So you are mourning the sin that you've had in your life. You are mourning all of the sinful behaviours that you have done in the past. And from Jordan Peterson's perspective, I rely heavily on Jordan Peterson. I think the way he articulates things is very precise, accurate, and objectively true. And so what Jordan Peterson explains blessed are those who mourn mean is that it's a willingness to fully confront the tragedy of life and to feel and live suffering truthfully. Mourning leads to a genuine transformation and to have compassion, and only by facing suffering voluntarily can you transcend it. So what does all of this mean? Well, actually this is a very interesting one. This is a very interesting beatitude to talk about. There's a lot of applications of it, and I could probably talk for hours and hours and hours on different examples of where this has applied. But essentially, you first have to recognize the gap between God's standards and your human brokenness. And so what my framework is that I'm teaching is we want to pursue Christ-likeness in everything that we do in our lives, and the people that I can help here is in a business setting, and specifically in a business setting it is Christian entrepreneurs with high ticket offers who have hit their revenue targets but no longer find chasing revenue fulfilling or motivating, and they want to find what their unique purpose is in life and then help apply it in their business. And so I could talk for forever on different stories and examples, but essentially blessed are those who mourn in my case will be recognizing all of the sins and all of the not so great things that I did before as a freelance copywriter, as email marketing and helping clients sell their high ticket offers through my marketing agency. But also because I am now able to recognize what I did wrong, I know how to avoid it. I understand why I committed those sins in the first place, which then allows me to help other people to avoid and navigate around them. So what am I talking about? The sins that I committed. So my background and story is that I've always loved learning. And so when I first started out as a copywriter, I bought all the training that I can get my hands on and that I could afford. I read books, podcasts, everything. Study, constantly filling my brain and conscience with information, what to do in order to develop some kind of framework in my own mind on what to do and how to develop my skills so I could become the best that I could be. But obviously back then my only goal was to make money. I did not have a transcendent goal above everything, and so everything that I did was focused 100% on making money. And because money was my idol in my business, all the decisions that I made downstream of that were directly focused on making money. So this means all of the conversations that I had with prospects and clients was pretty much, how can I get you a big return on investment to justify a fee that you're going to pay me? Or if I'm working with vendors or freelancers or whatever it is, it's always cost per project. What ROI can I expect? Or how many hours am you going to work for this amount of money? Or all of these things, all fundamentally based on money. And as a result, that led me to do some dubious things with the best intentions in mind. I did not deliberately mislead people or use manipulative marketing because I genuinely thought I was doing the right thing. But essentially, when my objective was to get a client, for example, a 6x return on their investment on their fee, and they were going through a month of relatively low sales, which means that if I don't bump up their sales this month, they're in the red. And I know from experience that if a client goes into the red, the first people to go are their contractors, which would be me. So in order for me to continue to receive my fee from this particular client, I have to suddenly work some magic in order to get them a high boost of sales, so that they can get the revenue in order to pay their expenses and then pay me for another month. And so what we were doing was we did daily emails, getting people to book a call when they're interested. And so every month when new people join the email list, they go through a pre-written sequence and a whole bunch of systems that we build in order to get them to book the calls. So realistically, you can say that anyone who was going to book a call for that month probably did. And so when the times come when the client was struggling for money, I would have to work what I call my magic in order to get people to sign up and book the calls. Well, their program was $5,000 each. So what can I do to get people to buy a $5,000 program? Well, you come up with payment plan options or zero money down and all of these things like what banks do. And that got people to sign up, and that got people to pay, and that got people to commit to it. But the reality is, looking back, that if you couldn't afford the program to start off with, you're struggling with cash flow issues, is it really right for you to do it at that moment in time if you effectively have to take a payment plan? Maybe for some, but maybe not for others. It would also mean that when I'm using clever marketing tactics, just where my only intention is to get people to say yes to booking a call and coming up with offers positioned in a way in order to get people to say yes, I want to do this, yes, to feel so excited by what they can potentially get that they want to make the payment and to join. Well, how many of those people realistically got the outcome that I promised within the time frame that I promised? And the honest answer is that not all of them. And how do I know? Because I personally used to buy programs and training and expensive things like that in order for the business opportunity within them, only to find that I very rarely got what I was promised at the end of it. Been through it, I know. So I did exactly the same, but just using more sophisticated marketing and trickery in order to get people to sign up. So I committed all of these sins, and I've got to be honest with you that when I became aware of what I was doing, this is after I closed my agency and whatnot, and partially why I want to build a business on biblical principles and dedicate the company to God, not me, because it prevents me from doing all of these things. When I came to repent and to actually admit what I did, it was quite painful to admit it. It was hard to admit, and that's what the context here means, where mourning is representing your sin and loss, and the bigger the thing that you have to mourn, the more painful that it is, the more broken you feel, and then the more that you would need God as a result of it. Say, for example, in the context of losing a loved one, the closer someone is to you, the more painful the mourning process is. And some people never get over a loss of a loved one. So if you've committed these sins in the past and then you basically turn to face them and admit them, you know, it's hard to admit all of the things you've done and accept responsibility for them. And this is what I believe this blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted mean, is to recognize your brokenness and what you have done. And so what would be the practical application of this in terms of business? So it means that if you were to, it means two things. So first of all, I have gone through the transformation myself from selling my own high ticket offer to other businesses with high ticket offers, and I understand all of the sins I've committed and all of the things that I've done in the pursuit of greed and money and pride and all of these other sinful behaviours, and I can admit it now, and I can see it clearly of what I've done. And so I have gone through all of this suffering, and as Jordan Peterson teaches, what I mentioned earlier, is that it's to embrace and face the suffering that you have in your life voluntarily. Don't run away from it, don't shy from it, but to embrace it, accept it, accept that you're broken, accept that you've committed sins in the past unintentionally, because perhaps you weren't aware of it like I was, and then allow this to be the way that you can experience the transformation. And so I personally have experienced this transformation, and I've gone from focusing entirely on money, finding nothing would work for me. I've gone from hitting revenue targets in the business, and then not having any meaning and purpose. And when I've gone through the journey and actually found uncovered what my purpose is to the best of my knowledge of my current age and ability, what my purpose is, and now I'm trying to steward my gifts for the benefit of others. I've gone through that transformation and that journey, and then that is what puts me in the best position in order to help other businesses with high ticket offers who may be experiencing something similar on how they can get through it and how they can transcend it. And this kind of ties back to another point as well, where I genuinely believe that the amount of suffering that you go through in the present moment, if you can get through it and find a solution and transcend it, the amount of suffering that you go through is proportionate to the amount that you can help someone in the future who's going through a similar situation to what you did. And the best analogy here would be is, who would you want as a grief counsellor? Someone who lost their husband of 40 years, or someone that's just graduated with a social studies degree with no experience. Obviously the person that's gone through it and have got through the other side and can see the light at the end of the tunnel, practical experience. And so what does this mean in the context of business? It means that you have to have empathy with the pain points that your clients and prospects have. You have to be aware of what they are. More specifically, the best way to do this, which is what I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to have my target audience to be the people who are currently experiencing what I suffered before in my business, where I was focusing on money, I had no meaning and purpose, and then I suffered a lot, spent a lot of money trying to figure it out, had some meltdowns when the business didn't work because there was no meaning in the suffering that I was going through. And then ultimately I found the way out and I've got through the other side and I'm rebuilding another business which I am passionate about and excited about. I'm not saying that you should shut your business or anything. I needed that fundamental change, most people wouldn't. But essentially, if you have suffered through the same experience that you are now helping your clients with, you are able to seriously empathize with what their pain points are because you experienced it yourself. You know what it's like, and you can talk with them and offer them solutions and comfort them, and give them genuine, heart-filled help in a way where you're trying to help them get through the problem they're experiencing, and not with what I used to do for myself and for my clients and what I see other friends I have in business doing. And that is that you find your target audience, you look at what the pain points are, and then you research what the pain points are, and then you use clever language to describe and articulate them when you have not experienced them yourself, which is kind of a little bit inauthentic, for lack of a better word. Whereas if you've actually gone through the suffering and you've had the transformation, you can directly resonate with and help the people who are currently going through the situation. So that is, blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted, the second beatitude. And the way that you can apply this is, admit your mistakes, put your hands up. That opens the door for the transformation. When you go through any transformation, you can then use that experience to help others going through something a similar problem in the future. And the more intense your suffering is, if you can get through it, the more credibility, authority, and ability to help others you will have in the future. So that is how I personally view this beatitude, and that's all I've got for you. See you in the next video.